So welcome again to part 2 of Learning to be Centered During Challenging Times. I'm Denise Jacuto.
And I'm Kate Jones. We're glad to see you today. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to do my presentation about moxibustion and essential oils, and then Kate will present on...
I'm going to go deeper today on the physiology and the neurophysiology of what happens when we take that diaphragmatic breath.
Great, wonderful. So this is the second part of a 3-part workshop on learning to be centered in challenging times. We are presenting today and then next Thursday, May 28th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And if you have any questions between our episodes, please reach out to Kate or myself, and there's our email addresses and phone numbers on the screen. So I'm Denise Jacuto, licensed acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist. I have been practicing in Alameda and San Francisco for about 15 years as an acupuncturist and herbalist, and now I do telemedicine as well. I've just started back in my offices about a week and a half ago, and I know it's going to be slow going as we slowly open back up during the pandemic, and we want to make sure we give people some self-care tips they can do at home. So today I'm going to talk about moxibustion and essential oils. I'm going to focus on the safety of essential oils rather than the scents themselves, because you can use your nose doctor just as well as I can to decide what essential oils you like and which are good for your nose and your body. But the safety and how to use them is the key. So here we go with part 2 of quick self-care tips from Chinese medicine to help you during difficult times. So what the heck is moxibustion? It's a Chinese herb. It's also called Artemisia vulgaris, and that's named after the goddess Artemis. And we use it in Chinese medicine to burn it on or near an acupuncture point. And it's really important to know that in the actual word that we translate as acupuncture from the Chinese into English, the word Zhenju actually translates to acupuncture and moxibustion. So that gives you an idea of how it is really integral to our medicine. And you might know moxa from the smell. If you go into your acupuncturist office, you might smell something smoky, and some people mistake it for marijuana, but it's not marijuana. It's a different plant altogether. I usually, in my offices, will use the smoke-less version, and I emphasize the less because it's not entirely smoke-free. There's a little bit of smoke because in the offices I'm in, nobody really wants to have the smoky smell in the office. And also, I also send people home with the smokeless versions, and usually they'll find that their partners and their pets are more amenable to using the smokeless version at home. So we use moxibustion in Chinese medicine to warm the body, to bring more qi and blood flow to the area. We use it where there's stuck energy or pain in the body, or where you feel cold in your body. We use moxa to strengthen the immune system on a point that we'll show in just a minute in a demonstration video I've done. I also wanted to say that it's a very interesting point that it was recorded in ancient literature that moxa smoke was used to prevent epidemics, and it's now used to sterilize the air in hospital wards in China. And you can say that doing acupuncture is a way to stimulate the acupuncture points. Also, at home, it's really great to use moxa. You're actually activating those acupuncture points with the moxa at home. And that's a really great thing to do right now as we're sheltering in place. So in the demonstration video you'll see in a minute, I'll show you how to do moxibustion on this one point, stomach 36, and I encourage you to do it at home. You can spend 10 to 15 minutes twice a day, maybe 5 minutes on each leg, because it is bilateral, it's on both of your legs. And while you're watching TV, a webinar, whatever you're watching right now, because we're watching a lot of screen time, you can spend that time and actually help improve your health. Next slide, I think, is the actual demonstration video. When I light Moxa, I usually use the candle, and that makes it easier to light when we're doing moxibustion. These are stick-on Moxas, and I've lit this first one here, showing where stomach 36 is, and I'll give you a more detailed account of that in a minute. But this is just something you light with the candle, and you stick it onto the acupuncture point, and you let it burn until it feels hot to you. When you're doing this on yourself, it's really easy to know really quickly when it's hot for you, and then you take it off when it gets hot, and then you'll put it in to a bowl with sand or rice to extinguish it. And when it gets hot, grab it at the ends and take it off. And there is my bowl of ashes with sand and rice in it that I've been using for a while and used Moxa. I'm going to show you how to use another kind of stick-on Moxa. That was a Japanese kind. And then this is the Korean kind of Moxa. Same principle, it just looks differently. There's a sticker on the bottom. You take away the protective wrapper, and then you light it. You blow on the Moxa to make sure it gets orange or red, like the orange you're seeing in the flowers on the video. And then to find stomach 36, you run your finger up the bone in front of your leg, the tibia, up the front until your finger just sort of pushes off to the side. Your body will just slide your finger right off the bone to the side, and that depression is stomach 36. Use a firm pressure to stick the Moxa on. You're going to let that burn down. This one burns a little bit longer than the Japanese Moxas. As you can tell, this one's longer than the Japanese Moxas were. And you let this burn for a while. When it starts to feel hot, you grasp it at the end. In this case, you grasp it at the green part of the Moxa, which is just a cardboard around the actual burning Moxa. You take it off and put it into the ashtray. So there are different kinds of Moxa, all different kinds of Moxa. This is an easy one to do at home. There's also Moxa sticks. I have several moxibustion demonstration videos for using Moxa sticks, using what's called a tiger warmer, which kind of looks like a pen with a stick of Moxa inside and a cap, a metal cap that you put on that has vents in it. And you use that directly on the acupuncture points. And all these videos are available on my YouTube channel, and we'll have those links in the show notes. And if you have any questions, of course, please ask me as well. So now we're going to talk about essential oils and how to use them with acupressure. As I said earlier, I want to focus this part of the talk on safety, because it's really important to be safe when you're using essential oils. Essential oils are great for accessing emotions and spirit levels of our bodies. They're really quick to act on your emotions. You smell an essential oil and it instantly can flood your brain with memories and associations. And so that's the really great thing about essential oils. They work quickly. They also kind of dissipate quickly. They're very ethereal in that way. They do wear off kind of quickly. You can use essential oils on your pulse points, on your wrist. You can wear them on a scarf. You can put them on acupressure areas, such as the stomach 36 I showed you earlier. some people are starting to ask about, can we use them in the cloth face masks that we're using now when we go outside? And I would just caution to use it diluted in a carrier oil. Now, I'm going to say that about all essential oils in general, is to make sure you dilute them in a carrier oil, especially when you have it close to your face. A full strength essential oil is going to irritate your nasal passages and your skin. So you want to have it diluted. And in the show notes, I'll have a link to Mountain Rose Herbs has a dilution chart. But just to give you an example, in 1 ounce of carrier oil, you would put 6 drops of an essential oil, or 6 drops of total of a few essential oils into that 1 ounce of carrier oil to make a 1% dilution, or 12 drops of essential oils to make a 2% dilution. And those are safe guidelines. Now, what's a carrier oil? A carrier oil can be any oil you would like to use as a base for your essential oils: olive oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil. I caution against sesame oil because it has a very, very pungent quality. If you like that scent, great. But if some people say that they do smell like Chinese food when they use sesame oil as a base, it can make you hungry. So in blending essential oils like I have with my alchemist partner, Kirsten Cowan from Angelic and Peony, we have used different oils to go along with different elements in Chinese medicine. We use olive oil because it's green for the wood element, which is associated with green, for example. We used almond oil because it's a clear whitish oil for using with the metal element blends, because the metal element is associated with the color white, for example. And another point about safety, I'll say, essential oil diffusers, people always ask about that. Like, people are starting to ask me, well, shouldn't you have an essential oil diffuser in your office? Well, we have one in my San Francisco office. It's at the front desk. The front desk person really loves her essential oil diffuser. My caution is I don't want it to be on when there are children or immunocompromised people in the office, because it can be very hard on our systems. There is a story about some firefighters going to a daycare a couple of years ago because children in the daycare were having carbon monoxide poisoning symptoms. And they traced it back to the essential oil diffuser that was being used, and the people in the daycare thought it was a good idea. And, you can use essential oil diffusers at home, but it's probably not a good idea to use them in shared places, especially if you're going to be if you have children or immune compromised people in the rooms. So my essential oil blends, I mentioned I have a partner in alchemy, Kirsten Cowan. We designed our essential oil blends to have 2 blends per Chinese element. So there are 5 Chinese elements, and we'll talk about them a little more in my section next week. With the 5 elements, we've chosen 1 more calming blend and 1 more boosting blend. So there's a calming blend is the more yin blend to calm the system, and the yang blend is a more boosting blend to strengthen or move qi in the body. And we've made these blends in sacred space during their season of power. So what I mean by that is the wood element blends were blended in the springtime. The fire element blends are blended in the summertime. The earth element blends are blended in late summer, the metal element in the fall, and the water element in the winter. And I'll have some more links in the show notes. The thing that makes our blends kind of unique is that we do use Chinese herb essential oils in our blends. And we get those Chinese herb essential oils from Alchemica Botanica. And they do exclusively Chinese herb essential oils. And they also, at this time right now, they have some special blends that they're making to help respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and to help your immune system as well. So I want to give them a shout out, and we'll have their link in the show notes too. So in addition to this workshop, right now during shelter in place, as long as we're sheltering in place, I'm doing a meditation series about the 5 elements every Friday at noon on Instagram. It's my Living with the 5 Elements meditation series. And please join me. It's about 15, 20 minutes long. You know, it's a really short, sweet time to take a break in the middle of your workday if you're working from home. And I hope to see you there. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kate.
Wonderful. Hey, thank you so much, Denise. That was wonderful to be refreshed, particularly, well, to be educated about moxibustion. I always wondered how that worked. So there's that. And my gratitude about queuing up the idea of the essential oils again, particularly since we are wearing masks and managing more uncertainty than usual. I think that will be a very helpful addition. So thank you. So hello, everyone. My segment today as a body-centered life coach is I wanted to take it a little deeper into our understanding whether we're in a spiritual practice or whether we're managing anxiety. If you notice, any of these workshops or education frames tell us always to do what first, is to slow down and begin to focus on our breathing. We understand that, but I thought it would be wonderful and helpful to know why that's the go-to modulation step to begin to help us really moderate levels of anxiety or fear and bring us back into a more regulated, moderated mind-body state. Let me just say that I've been working on and in my business, it's called Body, Mind, Movement as a business, as a body-centered life coach. Gosh, I've been in this exploration longer than many of you have been born, so I've been alive for about 32 years, I think. So I'm deeply, deeply interested in how the unification of our mind, body, movement, and spirit integrate and are designed to work together. So I'm hoping these few comments today will help that. The topics, as you can see here on our slide, I want to talk again, as I did last week, further about the vagus nerve. I'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the function of the diaphragm, and that is our breathing muscle. And then speak about what happens as we deepen our breathing within the vagus, the vagal nerve system, and how that helps moderate heart rate and our mood states. And then we'll close with a little practice of what's called a 4-to-8 ratio breath. So the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. There are 12 cranial nerves that issue from the brain, exit the brain in some way, and travel into the body. The vagus nerve is the longest of those nerves. And vagus from the Greek means wanderer or wandering. Our vagus nerve innervates every organ in the body so that it establishes a networking intercommunication system between the organs and the messages, the sensory nerves that can send data up to the brain. And then the brain processes that data and sends information back into the system. So the vagus nerve is called the mind-body nerve for that reason. Also, I'll just gently say, in your work, in your life, you may find yourself saying or hearing it said, oh God, I felt that in my gut, or my gut told me I should have turned left and I didn't, or that beautiful music just opened my heart. You hear people, we speak this way, but what's wonderful to know is because of the nature of the vagus, we're actually taking in information from the environment directly. This is called neuroception. And our organ systems can process incoming data before it becomes cognitively understood. So it's actually really fascinating to think and understand that we have interoception, that our organ systems are processing data about the environment all the time. When it comes to talking about the vagus nerve, I always like to pause and acknowledge this man, Dr. Steven Porges. He has dedicated his professional life, over 40 years of research, on the function of the vagus and how it informs us not only about threat, because it processes our relative safety in the environment, but it also is responsible for our ability to be socially engaged and meaningfully engaged with others for nourishment and support. So that's Dr. Steven Porges. If you YouTube Dr. Porges, if you're curious about the vagus, he's the go-to doc, and I encourage you to noodle around. You'll find a wealth of information. So let's talk a moment about what it means to breathe diaphragmatically, or you engaging the diaphragm to breathe. What I found here is this is a simple little image that hopefully will help make it clear about where the diaphragm is and how it functions on the inhalation and exhalation. Let me first say this. The diaphragm is our breathing muscle, okay? However, when we are anxious and experiencing different levels of anxiety, you notice yourself. You never ever notice how your breath gets really shallow? And it's like, right, in states of stress. We can breathe and manage on a very shallow breath that doesn't involve moving the diaphragm. So it's important to know you can make the decision to turn on the diaphragm in your breathing practice. Okay, so let's look at what happens here on an inhalation of breath. On the inhalation of breath, that thin dome-shaped muscle of the diaphragm, which if you palpate around the base of your ribs, the diaphragm attaches pretty much all the way around the perimeter of the rib cage. And it sits in the thorax like a dome when it's relaxed. When we take the breath in, the dome drops down, as you can see in the diagram. It depresses downward and it pushes actually on the visceral organs below it, which is fascinating because by doing that, we're giving the viscera, your intestines and more things, a little massage, right? They get a little benefit. On the exhalation of breath, the diaphragm reverts back to that concave shape, and it's helping push old air out of the lungs and takes pressure off of the viscera. here's some lovely other piece that fascinates me about diaphragmatic breathing. I'd like you to think about your heart for just a second. The heart, as you know, has a sac around it that holds the heart. That sac is called the pericardium. Okay? Off the pericardium extend two tendons. Those tendons engage with the diaphragm. Okay? So the heart, which begins to beat first thing in utero ages ago, and it works womb to tomb without interruption. Beep, beep, boom, boom. That beating muscle, when that diaphragm descends, it tugs on those tendons, which pull the pericardia closer around the heart, and that gives the heart a little massage and gives it a little rest, right? A little sweetness. Isn't that to rest those muscles a little? Okay, and then when you exhale, it releases the pericardia again. So there you have, there's the movement of the diaphragm. So that was looking at the gross anatomy. This image here helps us see the perambulations of the vagus nerve. And you can appreciate a little bit in this image how it truly is a wandering nerve. Now, this nerve innervates, moves through the diaphragm. It connects the heart, the lungs, all organs. When we begin to engage a diaphragmatic breath, and we begin to extend the exhalation consciously, i.e., a more relaxed breathing pattern, as we begin to slow the exhalation phase, guess what happens on the vagus nerve? When the vagus nerve registers a slower exhalation, it secretes a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. So what's the big deal about acetylcholine? You know what it does? Acetylcholine, when it reaches the heart, it slows the interval of beats, the heartbeat. It slows that interval. So in anxious states, the heart is beating more rapidly. As we slow the breath, the vagus recognizes a slower exhalation phase, secretes acetylcholine, which is a slight numbing agent, and that slows the heartbeat, which then regulates the heart into a rhythm that signals the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest version of the nervous system, to be dominant. Isn't that remarkable? I just think it's tremendous. So that's the magic of shifting state when we're anxious to moderated. We're moving from fight flight into rest and digest, but these are the anatomical mechanisms that allow that to happen. Pretty cool. Okay, so now let's go, what I wanted to say then in closing is here's the practice that will help you think about and engage with the moderating of the heart rate and bringing about a more centered state in which we can actually think more clearly and act more clearly. So here's what we do. Think now with me. If you let your hands rest on your belly for just a moment, you take your breath in through the nose, and on the inhalation, expand the belly as best you can. Here we go. Let's breathe in, expand the belly, and think of 4 beats. As you exhale, purse your lips a little bit and imagine you're blowing out candles on a cake, okay? And we're going to do that for 8 beats. So the inhalation, expand the belly, 4 beats. Exhale, purse the lips, slow it down, 8 beats. Let's try this together. We'll go through 2 full cycles of this together. But before we do that, take a moment and take a reading on, get 2 indexes of something you feel, emotionally, physically. Take a moment. Okay, you have a reading of 1 or 2 elements. So now keep that in mind. We'll return to that in a moment. And now let's put our attention, hand on belly. We're going to breathe in through the nostrils. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Breathe in through the nostrils. Exhale with a hiss. One more time. In through the nose. Exhale out. Now pause. Let your breathing go on automatic. Maybe you close your eyes for a moment. And now take another reading internally. Notice how you feel. And harvest the benefit of a diaphragmatic breath. So, thank you. That's my practice. It's been fun. By the way, if you do that breath cycle 10 times, that will guarantee to reset your system. It's been a pleasure. If you have any questions, please email or call. Certainly that's true of Denise's questions as well, questions for her. We're thrilled that you're here. And now we want to thank our, is that right, Denise? Don't we want to thank our wonderful wizard behind the scenes,
Allison.
who is Miss Allison. Yes.
Yay. Allison Victor, buddy.
Yeah.
If you need help streaming your business meetings like a pro, she can help you. She's helped us. If you need help with Zoom, Skype, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn with live or pre-recorded video,
She is a wizard.
Allison.
She is a wizard. Go ahead.
Allison, the streaming wizard. Thank you so much. And now we'll have a dance party to take us out. We look forward to seeing you again next Thursday. Join us again for the third part of our workshop. Mm-hmm. I'll be discussing a little bit about Chinese herbs and safety, and also about 6 healing sounds, meditation, and Qigong exercises. Kate, what will you be focused on?
I'm going to focus next week on a little deeper information about bringing about a holistic, integrated sense of the whole body by educating about the core and the periphery of the body, and some exercise, a few very simple exercises to bring the whole system online.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you again next week. Bye.
Bye.